Do you want to sleep with her?
It's not like you own me or something, you know.
I didn't say that.
No, you implied it. What is it with you anyway? I mean, how come you always want to start something all the time?
I'm sorry. I don't know why I get like that.
I mean, I got a right to live my life the way I want, and I thought we had that all settled in the beginning.
What about me?
Well, you live it the way you want. Just remember who pays the bills, that's all. Yeah, you got nothing to say about that, do you? And you like to spend money and all that stuff. I never hear you complain about that, do I?
You know, Marty, sometimes you can be a real bastard.
Thank you.
This is the Blood and Black Rum Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from Cultsploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Martin.
How's it going?
We are back with an episode that's right before New Year's, and this is the end of an era for us. We're gonna start fresh in the new year by not doing shitty movies like this anymore. Like the movie we're about to cover. Is that right? Is that what you're begging for?
At this point, yeah, I'm kind of like let's put that on the docket. No more of these, you know the giant tubs that you get when you go to like Walmart that have like $4 DVDs in them?
Yes.
And like if you dig through all 2,000 of them that are laden in there, and after your 7th copy of like Parent Trap that's you found in there, and you stumble upon this film, like I'm about ready. I think we should move on. Maybe maybe do what we were originally supposed to do, Jallos and such.
Well, I think that if this were in a bargain bin, that would be crazy. Because this doesn't even have the name recognition to be in a bargain bin. Just like
Baby's Day Out.
People would be like, "What the fuck is that?"
Well, hold on. Well, here's the caveat to that. In America, no, but just like Patio Lanterns is a hit in Canada, this film would be in that bargain bin because it's the Canadian Shining, Stephen King's Ghostkeeper.
Hey.
The moose is loose up in Alberta.
You just revealed the movie already. We don't do that.
I know. Well, you know what? Bret Hart is the greatest thing ever to come out of Alberta, Canada. And Bret Hitman Hart wouldn't deal with this crap.
Yeah, this movie is definitely a movie that has gone under the radar for one thing. It's not something that a lot of people know about. And truthfully, I didn't know about it either until I saw an article that had been posted that said you should watch this for New Year's. And I was like, I put that on my list of things to do later on. And I've never even heard of this movie until now. But for anybody that's looking to watch it, it's directly on YouTube. It's I think like free movies or something like that has it on YouTube, and they've got the whole thing. You get a couple ads here and there, but for the most part you get all 83 minutes of it on YouTube to watch, and a fairly good quality too. It's certainly like a VHS rip because you can hear the crackling of the VHS.
Oh yeah, it's delightful. It's like popcorn going in the background.
But it's definitely better than that copy of Mako that we watched back in the day, if you remember that one, where you couldn't make out anything that was happening. But definitely better than Home Sweet Home 2 that we just recently watched. Ghostkeeper did, though, get a release from Code Red, and so that's why it's kind of like more
Sounds
of
like
a
porn
quality.
company from the 80s.
What's that?
I said that sounds like a porn company. From the 80s,
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, no, they just released a lot of more obscure movies, and this was one of them that they did release. But it's definitely not one of those movies that has gotten massive amounts of popularity, and for good reason. We'll talk about why that is on today's show. The one thing that I do want to bring up too is we talk about tangential movies related to the themes on our episodes, and I did lambaste Martin about the Christmas tie-in in our Christmas episode when we did the James Bond movie. But
in Majesty's Secret Service.
on Her Majesty's Alms, as I like to abbreviate it, Alms. But this one is very tangential to New Year's Eve. If you think about I guess New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. If you think about New Year's as a holiday, kind of hard to quantify it with decorations and stuff, especially in the background of movies. There's a few things that you can think of, like you might think parties, you might think like white lights, maybe gold and silver decorations, because a lot of New Year's is like gold for some reason. And maybe a countdown. But other than that, I can't really think of things that would typify the New Year's experience. So it's a much harder theme to capture in a movie.
Well, though there is. You're forgetting the tried and true Dick Clark's New Year's Jamboree.
So you think like just having that on that in the background is like enough? It's like, oh, it's New Year's.
Well, I mean, at NBC or whatever felt, that was necessary even when the poor man couldn't do it anymore.
I know. Come watch the decrepit corpse of Dick Clark.
Stroke paralysis and all. And,
attempt to host a giant party.
And Ryan Seacrest is just sitting there pushing over. I'm like, yeah, Dick, get off screen. As he's like, oh, the ball's dropping.
And I definitely don't blame Dick Clark for any of that.
No,
that's the fucking production company who's like, Dick, you're doing it. You are the face of this festival, and we're expecting you to go on. And Dick's like, I'm scheduled for my euthanasia the next day. You're doing it anyway.
Wow,
Dick.
they still call it that. I did not know that because I haven't paid attention.
Yeah,
to
they still call it like it's like Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah, wow, what a piece of shit.
I think what they should have done is say Dick Clark's New Year's Eve celebration with Ryan Seacrest because Dick Clark is dead. That should be the whole title.
And some other assholes.
And some other assholes that your younger sister cares about, but you don't. Come watch with us as we highlight the hottest stand-ins that we put in the crowd to make them look like they're having fun while other people are sloshing around with their piss buckets.
Look at that. In 2014, Blondie was headlining it with fucking Macklemore and Miley Cyrus. What the fuck was Blondie doing there?
No idea.
Oh, Duran this year.
She wasn't getting any more
it's going to be Duran this year.
Movies. So you're saying if Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve is in the background, qualifies as a New Year's movie.
I mean, you just got to have the little twirly things and
yeah. Well, this movie, Ghostkeeper, doesn't even have that.
No, it's got
there is a one-off piece of dialogue that's like, "Hey, I wonder what those other people are doing right now because it's New Year's," something like that, and that's pretty much all you get to like really cement the fact that this movie is set at New Year's. And I'm not even sure what the purpose of that is. Like, why does it even matter that this is set at New Year's for this movie? Because it has no quality to it that would say, like, this is why it's New Year's. There's no, like, there doesn't need to be a reason that these people are stranded at a cabin because it's New Year's. So it's really a pointless exercise in having a New Year's movie. But we're going to do it anyway because it is technically a New Year's movie. And it's one of the few New Year's movies that I can think of because we've already done the biggest one, the biggest and best one. that you can do for New Year's Evil. We've already done it. Unless we want to do it again. That's fine with me. We can do it again. Just keep doing it every single New Year's.
It's been forever since we actually did it.
I know. Maybe we need to do it again. It's like, it's a fresh start. We're going to do it again.
Our first revisit.
Yeah. I mean, there is, I think, some value in revisiting again some of these movies, especially for like our earlier episodes where we're still finding our feet and trying to do different things. But yeah,
so we're going back and we're doing the Costas Mandalore
we're
trilogy again.
Just going to do everything all over again. A remake of a remake. All right, let's take a break real quick before we start talking about Ghostkeeper and the limited amount of stuff that we can think of to say about Ghostkeeper.
Wow.
Sorry, didn't mean to preface the episode. People are like, all right, clicking off now. I fucking love Ghostkeeper. Why are they saying these things about this movie? All right, let's talk about the beer that we have on the show today.
Speaking of, before you do, though, go into that, you should ask your Canadian counterpart if, like, Ghostkeeper, what do you think of it? Like, oh, Canadian classic.
Oh, I can bet that he's not heard of this. I don't.
Right up there with My Bloody Valentine and, other things.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, yeah, the Canadian movie scene is pretty limited, but at the same time, I feel like they're more focused on music artists, right? Like making sure that music artists gets center spotlight in Canadian airwaves and stuff like that, but not so much the movies. They're like, we make shit movies most of the time.
So.
Just kidding.
So you're admitting when we did not that long ago, just a couple of months ago, So Creepy It's Cronenberg. I mean, craving some Cronenberg. Sorry, that USA Craven was better than Canadian Cronenberg.
It was a joke. I'm joking. Not trying to disparage the Canadian film market. All right, what do we got on the show?
I would say whether they make good films or not, they give the tax break. That's
that
why
is
every
true.
Film gets shot up in Vancouver and Toronto.
That is true. They're like, you guys shoot it here, bring it back to the States. Okay, beer on the show. What did you get for us today? Because it was your pick today.
Well, now that we're almost in January and the New Year's upon us, that means as the winter has grown colder and more brutal here in upstate New York, it's becoming harder to find a winter ale.
So, technically we're just entering winter. Honestly, I mean, December 22nd or whatever is winter.
Yeah. So it's already becoming hard to find. Sam Adams has already pushed out their spring pack. So, but I was able to stumble upon while I was perusing our local packy store. I was able to find a nice winter ale that we haven't done from a brewery. I think we've only had like maybe one or two of their beers on here, which is surprising because we do get a lot around in the area. But it's a brewery that I do, from a couple of beers I've had from them. I'll have to check on tap to see how many exactly. But I mean, like, from what I've had, I do enjoy them. I just never really go out of my way to get it. Which is Rogue, based out of beautiful Oregon. And their Mogul Madness.
You say beautiful like you've ever been there before. Based out of, so I've heard, beautiful Oregon.
Well, I played the Oregon Trail. Come on.
There you go.
I was able to make it there, unlike all you other heathens who died on, fording a river like a fool. but so I got Rogue, Mogul Madness, which is their winter ale, and it's dedicated to strong knees because it's got a skier who's about to go drop in and have his knees blown out. And if you're over the age of 27 and you're doing like sports like that, you're a fool. Insurance companies laugh at you. You're a fool. No blessing of your knees is going to get you through that. But you know what?
Yeah, they're already prepping the mechanical knee that they're going to be.
Not even. They won't even. They'll just fix, cut a ligament and be like, yeah, you got a shitty knee for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's going to ache. You're going to be able to tell, pressure drops and everything when the storm's coming.
I've never been downhill skiing. I've never done moguls. Looks like a fun time.
No.
Moguls definitely look like something that would be difficult to do.
No.
Like difficult and uncomfortable.
See, I've never downhill skied. I've snowboarded, not that much, but I have snowboarded, and we have done cross country skiing because we've done that, in gym class around here because we get the weather for it. But we have a friend that's very into snowboarding, and he hurts himself every year snowboarding, and it's not that he hurts himself every year snowboarding that makes me go, wow, that sucks. For me, as somebody, and we're getting a little off topic here, but for me, as someone who's skateboarded before and used to skateboard, snowboarding and skiing sucks because of the pure fact that you are binded to your shit and you can't bail.
Yeah.
Skateboarding, if you were gonna try to do something, or you're riding and you don't have control, and you can kind of tell, and the more you do it, the more you can kind of tell when things are gonna get iffy. You can bail, and you can learn how to bail right, and save your ass.
Mm-hmm.
You do that skiing or snowboarding, you fuck up. You kind of got to look at it and be like, well, this is gonna suck, and then kind of barely brace yourself for the suckage. So that's why, especially now, the older that I get, I can't get into like that kind of crap. It's not for me. Fuck that. But the beer I can get into.
That's right.
This is, if I would say, and it is a winter ale, is a beautiful but bog standard winter ale. It is biscuity as all hell, very malty, very bready, almost like a nice little loaf of pumpernickel, something like a nice dark bread. Mild sweetness that you get from it, like a bready sweetness. A little bit of a hop finish. I don't really get that much, but it's crisp, nice and easy drinking. Warms the soul as I'm drinking it. Little peppery, a little spicy, not very much, but like I said, because it is kind of like pumpernickel-y for the breadiness of it. I like it a lot. I think even though it is kind of like what I'd expect out of like a stereotypical winter ale, this is one that I can get behind because it's not filled with shitty old man fruits, and it's just basically, here's something that's going to warm me up by being nice and bready, but nice and drinkable, and pretty drinkable. So yeah, I like it.
I think this one is really good. I think that it's pretty similar to that Brooklyn Winter Ale that we had on here not too long ago. There was a winter red IPA that we had. And this one tastes a lot like that red IPA. This one's not really getting the classification of an IPA, but it definitely does still have the biscuity maltiness, and maybe perhaps not as much the pepperiness of the rye that winter IPA had from Brooklyn. But it has the similar flavor profile, right up to the same point of like the type of hops that they've used. And I think that's really good because I like the Brooklyn Ale. What you'll find with this one is I didn't pour this out, but I can see it. This one has a much darker, almost like caramel malt like color to it. That's like meant to give it more of like that wintry, darker brown look to it. Overall, I think this is really good, and I'm surprised that it doesn't get a classification of something akin to an IPA because I do think it is hoppy enough where it is nearly to that point. But as a winter ale, it is important to point out that this one is not going to be like your traditional winter spiced ale. This is definitely not a spiced ale. This is more of a hoppy, biscuity, malty beer rather than like what we had on the show from Beer Tree before, which was like the flannel lined everything, which was a very spiced winter ale. So very different take on that. But I like this one a lot. I think it's a really good, solid, balanced beer. from Rogue.
I think you could agree to disagree. I don't really get an IPA-ness out of it. It'd be interesting to see, if it was more of like a red IPA,
Yeah, for me, the hops are pretty apparent, and I don't know. It's like hewing closer to I could actually even see it be something like an ESB.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've had an ESB, though.
I know, well, those are rare. It's like finding a fucking... I don't know, what's a rare Pokemon to find in the wild back in the day?
You. Missing no.
That's glitch!
Honestly, it's way off topic, but I feel like now with like all the Pokemon shit, I'm way out of the loop on that stuff.
Oh.
I've been watching some videos of like the new Pokemon stuff, and it's just like, it's a fucking flamingo, but we call it Flaminga. I feel way out of the loop on those.
I stopped at Gold, Silver, and Crystal 2nd Gen. That's enough for me. I still have friends at work that still play Pokemon, and it's just like taxing to listen to it because it's like there's 9 and like my OCD like I like have like flashbacks of like playing Donkey Kong 64 and all the shit I had to collect and that to beat it. It's like, oh, there's 964 Pokemon for you to catch now, and it's like, oh my god. Not only that too, though, but I mean, I always found the concept now to be fucking stupid. Oh, you're starting off in this new region, and there's not 250 anymore. There's 340 now. Worst scientists in the world. They have all this traveling ability to go around the world, and you can't fucking tell that like there's like billions of types of Pokemon around the world. Like, you dumbasses.
Yeah.
Professor Oak and all the Elm and all those assholes should have their degrees ripped from them. You suck at your job.
They're just like, I don't know. We're assuming. We've never been anywhere. But we're assuming there aren't any more.
You mean to tell me there's only like 2 fossil type Pokemon, like Kabuto and like whatever the other fucking one is? And it's like, oh yeah, we haven't bothered looking into the fossil record at all. To see like the bones of old Pokemon. It's like shitty science.
It's true.
Really shitty science. You want to know why Professor Oak wasn't looking at other Pokemon? Because him and Mr. Mime were too busy fucking Ash's mom. Put it in her pooer.
Alright, Ghostkeeper. We gotta move on from the Pokemon talk. Ghostkeeper. What?
Ghostkeeper.
Yeah. I will start out by saying I don't really understand the title that much. I understand it to the extent that they were like kind of like, okay, they wanted to be like, they're the keeper of this lodge and no one is there, so it's kind of like a ghost lodge, so they're the ghost keeper. But other than that, I don't really understand. I feel like it's a reference to The Shining and the fact that they're just like, they wanted to kind of reference The Shining and say, there's the caretaker in The Shining, this is the ghost keeper in this movie. Because Ghost Keeper is... It doesn't have a lot in common with The Shining, but it certainly feels a little bit influenced by The Shining.
Oh, it's got a lot of beats ripped from The Shining.
Right. It's so basically the main idea is that there are these 3 people, boyfriend and girlfriend, and then another girl that comes up and she's trampy. The film makes you know. And they...
Oh, don't you know she's just a little tramp running around.
Yeah. They basically... are snowmobiling out into the wilderness, and they stop at this one store, and the storekeeper's like basically like, you better be careful out there, and for good reason. I mean, these people are out here snowmobiling, they don't know where the fuck they are. Not only that, but Marty, the main guy, is a fucking asshole to everybody in this movie.
You know what he is? He's the Canadian version of Jack Nicholson in The Shining and Flyboy from Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
Like-
definitely the Flyboy. I can see the comparison, but he's really an asshole in this movie, and he goes to the storekeeper and is the jokes are kind of akin to like you bum fucks up here in your snowy store. Where's the guys whittling in the front of the store? And the storekeeper's having none of it. It's like,
Well,
get the
he's
fuck
like,
out
yeah.
of here.
He's like,
City
yeah,
folk.
there's fucking no one out here. It's the middle of, like, it's fucking December. The store is out off the
snowed
beat.
in. There's like 3 feet of snow. Everybody's gone. Which begs the question, why is this store still open? Why is this guy just being like,
Well, because some dumb city folk are going to come
I'm stocking
down.
the bread, I'm stocking the eggs. It might go bad, but I'm stocking them. But anyway, these 3 people, they go out, they're exploring in the wilderness, and they accidentally come across this deer lodge that's out in the middle of nowhere and is clearly run down, hasn't been in service for quite a while.
They even go on a path to get there that says, "Don't
Do not trespass or whatever. Don't come here.
private property, stay away."
It's basically the equivalent of the crazy guys in a slasher movie like Friday the 13th coming up and say, "There's a curse out there. Don't go there." But it's a sign, and everybody's like, and the only real person that has any brains is Jenny. She's like, "I don't think we should go there. I mean, it says stay out, right? Like, we probably shouldn't just go." They're like, "No, we're going there for no good reason besides we just want to explore." So
you
they go,
old maid,
Yeah.
Jenny.
they go and explore, and they find out that they get broken down there, and they're stuck there, and they make their way in, and they're like, "Wow, it's kind of warm in here. Like somebody's been living here," and of course somebody is living there. There's the Ghostkeeper there, played by Georgie Collins, and that's pretty much the plot of the movie. Like that's ultimately that's really all that happens. This movie has a lot.
So you mean to tell me they get lost in a storm, end up at
A cabin.
fancy? No,
lodge.
it's not a cabin. A fancy lodge in the mountains, and they're snowed in, and shenanigans and corruption ensues.
That's what happens.
Oh, that's Stephen King's The Shining.
I mean, it definitely has a lot in common with it. Of course, the whole movie has a Wendigo myth that's going on, like the Indian Wendigo myth that comes up at the beginning of the movie. They spell it Wendigo, but it's the Wendigo, like the Wendigo being like sort of like the Yeti creature, Bigfoot, an Indian myth of Bigfoot, basically. And so the whole movie is set around this idea about a Wendigo being out in this wilderness, but yet we're in like this haunted lodge type thing. And the movie has a very limited cast, right? It's pretty much 4 people throughout much of the movie. We got Jenny, played by Reva Spear, who apparently is like really the only big actress that this film hired. The rest of the film cast was just like local people, like local maybe actors that they were like, "Hey, you want to play in this movie?" You got Marty, the asshole that we were talking about, was, Jenny's boyfriend, and there's a great scene in the movie later on where Jenny's like, "Do you want to sleep with her?" Talking about the other woman that's with them. And Marty's like, "So what if I do?" Basically, he's like, "So what if I do? You don't own me, and I pay the fucking bills around here."
Just to say, like, yeah, he's like, "What do you care? You don't have a problem spending my money."
Yeah.
And you remember who pays the fucking bills around
I
here.
know.
So if I want to go and fuck that bitch, I'm gonna go and fuck that bitch.
It's kind of crazy because, like, at a certain point, you think like
that's not Canadian politeness.
I
At
know.
all.
At a certain point, you think Marty's gonna come back and be like, "I apologize. That was really shitty of me. We're stuck."
Oh
here."
no! He revels in it.
Oh,
He's
no.
Like, yeah. He's like, yeah, that dumb bitch.
He's like,
Showed
yeah.
her-
He like goes out, gets tea, or whatever, and comes back, and he's like looking for the other girl, Chrissy, because she shared a very intimate story of how she, back when she was underage and 16, she wanted to get into prostitution. It was a fantasy of hers that she was gonna have sex for money, and so she did it at one point. and Marty gets all hot and bothered. He's like,
hold on. In the back of a car.
That's true, yeah. In the back of a car with a substitute teacher.
For $40.
Twice, though.
Twice.
Yeah, what a bargain. She's not being a very good prostitute, then. That's called giving it away.
Double dipping.
Yeah, I guess that's probably why she didn't go into that career. She's like, I'm just too bad at it. Haggling, not her forte.
she's not Geralt of Rivia sitting there like, all right, before I let you come in.
No, it's as I said, she's just not good at the monetary value part of it.
Oh,
she's selling herself short, to be honest with you, because Sherry McFadden, very nice looking woman in this movie.
Yeah, very stereotypical.
Yeah, blonde,
late 70s,
big
early
busted.
80s. Their fucking snow outfits are so stupid. Like Jenny's fucking snow, like bibs, are the dumbest fucking bibs ever. They're like skin tight bibs, but then the way like it goes up to her shirt, it's like the lowest cut bib ever, and so her tits are just like kind of hanging out. It's like the most anime nonsense that I've ever seen in like.
I was thinking that they look a little bit too tight because like how are you?
Yeah, how can she move?
Possibly move in that thing.
Like it's like I said, like it's like anime bullshit. Like it's like a design you'd see in an anime because like oh it looks cool in anime, but in real life it's like stupid.
It looks really uncomfortable. Just way too tight, way too restricting, especially if you have to walk through snow like they do in the movie.
And she's wearing a turtleneck. She's extra restricted.
True.
You know, I mean, that she should have been sitting there pulling at her collar the whole time. Like, oh, God, Marty, I'm like, just, what am I wearing?
If it were me, too, because she's wearing, in the movie later on, when they stay overnight, you could see that she strips down to her under shirt and her, what do they call those? Thermals, basically. And for me, wearing all that stuff, thermals, then a turtleneck, then the bib, then the jacket,
too much.
I'll be sweating my ass. I'll be.
By the time I'm like halfway done shoveling on a night, I'll be like.
I know. I have to. I'm
t-shirt. I'll be out in t-shirt. Like everyone's like, "What are you doing?" I'm sweating my ass off.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. I'm like, 2 shovels in, I'm like, I'm losing the jacket. It's gone.
Oh, take the hat off. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you know what? My hands are warm enough. I don't need the gloves.
I know. You'd think, because like you see the commercials with like the Campbell soup commercials, like, oh, he's so frozen from being outside in the snow. It's like, no, I'm not coming in and having soup. I'll have a fucking meltdown. I'll probably be dehydrated.
You'll feel like that when like after like 20 minutes of being inside afterwards, like, oh, I'm fucking cold. I didn't realize it. But like, yeah, I'll take that soup now. But when you're out there, you're like, oh, like you're fucking on a chain gang.
I know. All to say that their outfits do look pretty tight, too tight for snowmobiling comfortably. But so basically, this movie is really weird to me because Ghostkeeper, it sets up this whole idea like. These guys are going to go to this lodge. The Wendigo is out there somewhere because the film starts out with that myth. It's like, oh, there's an ancient myth about the Wendigo. You're like, okay, I know about the Wendigo, right? It's like a Yeti sort of creature. It's out in the wilderness.
First time I've ever heard of it.
Oh, okay. You've never heard about it. It's basically a Yeti thing that's out in the wilderness. You're expecting that when you go into the movie. You're like, oh, okay. There's going to be a Yeti somewhere out there. And, they're going to be at this lodge, but then they're going to be harassed by the Yeti that's coming around. And that doesn't happen. No, we get Georgie Collins as this creepy Ghostkeeper woman who I think is probably the best part of this movie, honestly. I think she does a pretty decent job of being like very, sinister in the background with her nice like spaghetti hair. She's kind of creeping around in the background like with her bangs before her eyes, sort of like a, 14-year-old emo kid who's, it's like I can't look directly at you. I need to have my bangs in my eyes.
I was gonna say she's a lot of Kathy Bates from Misery and
Oh yeah, but definitely
cat-
more reserved
the-
than that. Yeah.
and the cat lady from fucking The Simpsons that you see throwing her cats at people, going like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
all I could think of when I saw her.
A little more reserved than Kathy Bates. But I think she does a pretty good job. And basically the movie is a lot about her. She takes him in, she gives him a room, and then she's really focused on Jenny as a person. She's like, she's always staring at her. She's invites her to tea, and then that tea drugs her. And then ultimately find out like, oh, her son is just running around this lodge somewhere. And they ask about him. They're like, oh, so where is your son? And she's like, I don't know. He's around somewhere. And they're just like, okay, that sounds reasonable. He's just somewhere around this lodge, and I will just stay here overnight. There's not really too much surprise to Ghostkeeper, though. I think, once they've set up this idea that they're staying at this lodge and they introduce the Ghostkeeper and stuff, you're pretty much expecting what happens. And the only real twist to this movie is the Wendigo figure that they've been keeping in the basement, who is basically like a flesh eater, they call it. They've a flesh eater that they have to constantly feed. And it's basically like the burden in the basement. Other than that, though, it plays out like a pretty traditional slasher, except there's really no surprise as to who's doing the killing or what's going on here. I think because the film has such a limited cast, there's really not much of a surprise at all.
I was gonna say it's hard to call a slasher when there's got the casting of dinner theater.
No, I agree. I think the other thing too about this movie is that it is paced really slowly. Like if you're looking for 30 minutes of snowmobile trekking in the Canadian wilderness, then this is the movie for you, because you can tune in to the first 30 minutes of it and then you're like, oh, that was a fun adventure. I'll tune out now, and you're good. You got your snowmobile trek in. Use it as like one of those like exercise videos where you envision yourself out in the wilderness, because that like the first 30 minutes is really, really dry. It has not much going on with it.
See, I'll disagree a little bit. Like, it's not so much with the pacing this film that I didn't care for. I mean, is it a slog and torturous at times and laborious? Yes. Shining is too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what the difference is? Besides one's done by one of the greatest directors of all time, and the other isn't.
What else is the difference?
Casting. If you want to do something like this, I'm not saying you have to have great casting. You don't have to have Jack fucking Nicholson, but you need to have charisma.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the most part, this film's shot really well. It looks really good. They pace out and screen everything, pretty well. Everything, has a really good look to it and, nice feel. It doesn't look super cheap or anything. The main downfall in this, besides it being like a kind of lackluster in its idea, is it's the fact that nobody is like a charismatic character like that you can get behind. Nobody has any charisma. It's like watching fucking Rabid, with Cronenberg, and everyone's just this fucking, oh man, bad things are going on. This is really bad. What should we do? I don't know. What should we do?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go this way.
Right.
Okay.
There's no urgency. There's no reaction, really. It's just kind of like these characters have things happen to them, and they're just like along for the ride for the most part.
Like you're sitting there, like when Marty's sitting there being like, "Ha, yes, that makes you mad. I want to have sex with her. That makes you mad. You should fly off the handle. Why aren't you flying off the handle? You should flip out. You're just mad. You don't own me. I own me. Me. Things. Stuff. I'm going away. Bye." It's not, William Shatner's thespian school of of charisma. It's just a fucking vacuum. And then to have Jenny afterwards run after him Marty? Marty! Marty? Marty?
Well, the other
Marty!
thing, too, is...
Marty?
We should point out that later on in the movie, like about the halfway through the movie, this film had a fairly, I mean, I would say, like, for the amount of cast and stuff, this movie had a $750,000 budget. What did they blow it on? But anyway, like, besides that,
No, you're right on that too.
Right.
Like.
The problem with this movie was apparently in production, because of the tax shelter budget that they had, they were unable to. The money that they had was quickly running dry, and they were not sure that they were going to have enough money to finish the shoot. So instead of relying on, you know, what they had already planned, like with the writing, they had to kind of shoot from the cuff and just be like, we need to get rid of what we had planned because it's too elaborate for the budget that we were left with. And they just decided to, like, do it day by day, writing new stuff as they went along. And you can definitely tell, like, when you get to the halfway point, things just start to, like, fucking get out of control. And to the point where later on in the film, there's a whole scene after Marty finds out that the snowmobile is broken, where he goes into the shed, throws, like, grease on his face, and, like, freaks out and starts having, like, a weird diatribe about how they're going to make it, and he has to go follow Chrissy because she must be back at the other lodge somewhere. And it makes no sense in the scheme of the movie. Like, first of all, why did he just flip out, like, randomly?
I guess he's supposed to be possessed.
Yeah, it makes no sense in the scheme of the film. It's like comes out of left field completely. It really doesn't make any sense.
All I could think of when he's rubbing the grease on his face is, like, fucking the robot chicken scat, like, Captain Planet! Captain Planet! But no, you know what else, though? Fucking before then, when he's looking at his snowmobile, it's like 10 minutes of, like, hi, I'm Bob Vila, here to fix this. Like, you know,
no, I know, I
like,
love that too, because
as he's, like, sauntering back and forth, like, shit, I don't have this tool to rip out my spark plug. Goes back to the shed, like, oh, I've got it now. Goes back and, like, oh, damn, someone fiddled with this.
I really like when he takes the one of the hoses off, and he's like, let me just go into the shed and see what I can cobble together. It's like, what are you going to cobble together? My thought was, like, if you don't have that fucking specific hose, what do you think you're going to just put together? You're just going to, like, pull out, like, a piece of thread and MacGyver it together? I don't think so. Like,
no, he's going to MacGruber it.
MacGruber! You're going to need a pretty specific part for that, buddy. I don't think you're going to just
I don't know. Those are, like,
together.
late 1970s skidoos. You probably could find something in your shed and, like, patch it up and
little
call it
hose and just pop it on there.
It's not like today where everything's, you know, specific. Back then, you know, things were.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, like outside of, like, elements like that, I mean, there are so many beats that are solely, like, taken from The Shining in this, and, like, unabashedly so, whether they'll admit it or not. Not just the setting and the premise of them being trapped, you know, during a storm in this setting, and then there being a curse, you know, in The Shining, it's Jack Nicholson having to deal with, you know, his alcoholism and the, you know, the potential that there's a supernatural thing going on. Here they have the supernatural here, but it's a fucking Dawn of the Dead zombie reject. Stupid fucking thing, which is stupid. They shouldn't even have that.
Right, it's kind of unnecessary to have that Wendigo plot. You can definitely tell, like, they meant to do more with the Wendigo plot, and then they didn't have the budget, so they just had to cut it. You know,
it's like such the half-assed, just like, oh yeah, here's this asshole eating meat underneath, like,
mm-hmm.
But also too, you got, like, this the poor, like, you know. In The Shining, the poor black guy's like, I'm going to go up the mountain and see what's going on. And he gets killed by Jack. Here, it's the fucking poor storekeep. He's snowshoeing, then he sees the treads from the snowmobiles after he told him not to go out there. Shakes his head, and he goes up there and gets stabbed too, you know, by Kathy Bates.
Yeah, that is weird too. Like, he just randomly goes out there and he's like puts himself in danger unnecessarily. Really, it's really just to add to the body count. I feel like, because there's not a lot else to do at that point. You've already killed off the one guy that's been chasing after all the people. And there's
that fucker got yeeted off that goddamn roof. Fucking totally.
I love that too, because the film did surprise me in that sense, because I was like, okay, she's gonna throw him off the roof, but they're in like 3 feet of snow. He'll be fine. He'll fall off the roof. But no, she makes it so that he just happens to land on the one strip of spiked fence in the area.
That nice sanatorium fencing that they had up,
My other favorite thing about this movie too is that they did not focus on the dead person's breathing, because it's so easy. It should be so easy to edit the scenes where it's just like, hey, can you hold your breath for like 5 seconds while we get this shot? And they're like, no, we don't care. We don't care if you're breathing in this shot. The last scene where she goes to Marty and he's like frozen out in the woods.
Like The Shining.
Yeah, like The Shining. You can clearly, like, he's breathing clearly. Like, and not even like he's trying to hold his breath. He's just literally breathing. And you can see it. I love that about older movies, because they really did not give two shits about whether the audience would be looking at if the actor is breathing or not.
Well, I mean, it's not in 4K back then. You can't tell. You wouldn't probably be able.
It's hilarious to me. Is he just like, his chest is just moving up and down, not even any attempt to stop breathing. Everybody has lung disease in this movie. What do you think of Chrissy, Sherry McFadden? What do you think of her character? I know you said you didn't really like anybody.
No, they're all insufferable assholes.
We at least with Chrissy, we do get some emotion. Like, she has to play like the sort of mean girl-esque.
But she's not even a mean girl. She's not doing anything. She's not like throwing her muff in Marty's face.
It's true. She's just kind of like, I'm going to go take a bath. If you want to join me, you're welcome to, but you're an adulterer as well. Oh. It's actually, it's kind of like she's just like, she's putting it out there, but she's really forcing Marty to be that asshole guy that like thinks that it's all about him.
So it's her fault.
No, I'm saying it's Marty's fault.
No, I'm saying, you said, she's putting it out there.
She's saying it's open if you want it, but
maybe she wanted Jenny to go in there too.
Oh, that's true. Maybe she did. Maybe she's like, I'm just gonna go take a bath. Whoever wants to join. I think that this, actually, this is Sherry McFadden's, I think, only movie as well. I think most of these people, Murray Ord too, it's their only movie. I think Ghostkeeper is kind of an interesting experience. I think that it has some things going for it. It does capture the wintry isolation and the coldness at times that you get from better movies like Black Christmas. At the same time, it is really, really slow paced, and you can tell by the second act it has no idea where it's going, and it just gets weirder from there. And I think it may have been a better movie had they been able to do what they wanted to do. But as it stands, with what we get, it's a very uneven movie. And I wish that it had maybe been able to focus more on the Wendigo elements to it and kind of eliminated some of the slasher experiences that we get, because I don't think that they're really doing the film favors.
No, it's too like I said, like you said, and I said earlier, it does have a good atmosphere about it. It is shot well. It does have a good, good idea setting wise and how to frame it. I just think overall the whole Wendigo idea, if you're not going to do anything with it, there's literally no point. Same thing with it being like a New Year's. There's no, that's just it's like just throwaway shit. Mm-hmm. And even at 83 minutes, this film is incredibly laborious, and I think the fact that there's no nothing charismatic to hook you into any of the ideas. It can be a very hard watch, and it was a hard watch for me. I was tapping out like every 10 minutes, like to take a break and walk away, because it's not just monotonous. It's just there's literally nothing to kind of grip your interest. It's like watching paint dry, or like back in the day watching a file try to transfer over, and you're just watching that bar slowly as you see the little paper fly from folder to folder.
I think the other thing
for that thing to save.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is that the movie, like the final part of it, kind of exposes how the direction can be. Like there is a scene at the end of the movie that is probably like 3 minutes long of Jenny, like in the lounge area, walking around with a candle or like a lantern, and then sitting down and then pouring herself tea.
I hope it's chamomile.
And that's it. It's like 3 minutes long, and that kind of already, you know, if you were to only watch one part of this movie, watch that and see if you can put up with the pacing of it. Because if you can't, then you definitely will not want to watch the rest of Ghostkeeper. It also has the most frustrating element to it too, that they try to like shoehorn in this idea about generational insanity, right? That like Jenny is insane because somewhere in her family she had like someone else who was insane, and then later on in the movie there's a reference to the fact that like the Ghostkeeper could be her mom, right? Like that
I'm your mother.
She like tries to use that as a way to get into Jenny's head, and she's like not having it. She just shoots her. And the other thing too is when it's really funny when Marty finds out like that she killed that guy, he sees her, you know, kill that guy, and she's like, he was attacking me, and Marty's just like, you killed him, and like he doesn't want anything to do with her. It's like, you know that funny shit is going on around here. The snowmobile has been tampered with. You know that. So like it's just funny that he's so offended by the fact that he's still like, well, I don't know what's going on around here, but you're fucking insane, Jenny, because your family's been insane. It's just, you know, I don't really like that idea of generational insanity in this movie because, again, I think it's unnecessary and it doesn't really go anywhere. Perhaps it was part of like a more robust storyline that they had to cut out, but it doesn't go anywhere in this movie. It kind of feels silly.
You're just silly.
That's right. I think the score is pretty good, though. I think the score actually does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of like the suspense.
Done by the same guy who did the Prom Night and My Bloody Valentine score.
Which is, yeah, that's interesting because this has, you know, this is a way less recognized movie than those two others, and yet, you know.
Well, those other two are Canadian classics.
It's true. But I think the score it does do a lot of the heavy lifting. The score and the sound effects that, like, you know, center us in this really wintry, cold atmosphere is probably the best takeaway from the movie. All right, so on a scale of 0 to 10, poisoned chamomile tea, what would you give Ghostkeeper?
I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I mean, it's not it's not a poorly made film.
Wait, what did you say? How much did you give it?
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
It was 5 out of 10. It's not a poorly made film. It's not well executed. The idea is just a mess. Not well executed. It's part Shining, part Native American mystery. With none of the Native American mystery. Has a lot of similar beats to The Shining. Has a lot of similar, you know, things. The actors are one of the big problems with this film because in a film, if you're going to try to tell a story that's methodical and takes its time, you need charisma there to kind of guide it along the way. There is no charisma. The actors and actresses are just vacuous and vacuums. There's nothing to be found. There was nothing that really kept my interest at all. Not even the slasher element. None of the kills were exciting. Nothing was, really cool. It's a nifty little idea that's just not well executed. I think it could have been cool to see, if they had more time to kind of focus it and make it, kind of try to find the film's own footing with the Native American, the Wendigo in the setting, and kind of try to do its own thing instead of just kind of aping The Shining. At 83 minutes, it shouldn't feel as long as it is, and it feels incredibly long, especially for the first third and the last third. I can't recommend it. I honestly, I think a 5 would be is pretty gracious, and it's only because, like I said, I think it's shot well, especially for the budget that they had. It looks pretty good. The setting's really nice. There's some good ideas here that it's just not executed well at all. I don't know who this is for in today's society, because even you, the horror buff, had never really stumbled across it. So I don't know who this would be for. It's definitely not going to be the worst thing you'll ever watch, but it's far from entertaining. So 5 out of 10.
I would give this a 6 out of 10. I think it has some redeeming qualities to it. I think the atmosphere works to its advantage. Like I said, the score is really good as well. And I think I can see the idea being something interesting, take on The Shining, but like going in a different direction. And I think maybe if it had kind of gotten rid of the slasher elements to it and focused on more of like either Haunted Lodge or the Wendigo elements, that might have been more interesting. Because honestly, there is a dearth of good Bigfoot /Yeti /Wendigo movies out there. A lot of them are really not that good or very tense or suspenseful. I think this one could have been one of them, but it kind of loses that in the second half. And I think that's probably where the film really, really goes wrong. And that's maybe not exactly their fault due to budget constrictions, but at the same time, I'm really surprised at like $750,000 in this movie. It has like 5 people. They're not well known. It has like what looks like a freestanding lodge already. I don't know what they spent it on, to be honest with you. Like, it's not like there's a lot of makeup effects or anything. Maybe they paid that guy for the My Bloody Valentine and Prom Night soundtrack a lot of money. I don't understand like where all the money went though. Regardless, whatever the case may be, they didn't have enough money to finish that second half, and it definitely shows. Maybe if they did have that, if they were able to pursue the original script, it would have been a better movie. But I think that what we get is really, really uneven. And I wish that it maybe had been able to explore some of the ideas that it seemed to be heading towards, because I don't think that the slasher element was something that they truly wanted to focus on. So, fairly well made, sometimes interesting, sometimes has good atmosphere to it. And I think that's why it gets a 6 out of 10, because it's definitely not as bad as some of the other movies that we've seen. I think it definitely has some sort of, some element of good filmmaking to it. It just didn't get there. And so there you go. Our New Year's movie. Not really much to it based on New Year's, but you can check it out, and you can make the decision on how much New Year's you feel it has. All right, so that's going to end our 2022 year, and I think we'll probably come back in 2023 in maybe a couple weeks, and we'll have to come up with another movie that we're going to cover, because now we don't have a theme to go on. There's no holidays to finagle around. So we'll have to talk about that, because I haven't really thought about what our next ideas are going to be. So And with that said, too, we have kind of discussed potentially doing some video format to our podcast as well.
Joy.
Kind of fun. Could do it live. Could do a nice stream that some people can watch. Could or even just having a video element to it. People like that too. They like to sometimes they like to watch the podcast instead of just listen to it. So those are things that we're toying with. Maybe opening things up for the 2023 year, and what is it? Season? It would be like our 9th year of the podcast. So
in June.
Yeah.
Or July.
Also, I did want to point out too, we've dropped using the episode numbers in our titles because Apple doesn't like that. So, we won't.
They don't.
No, they actually have an internal numbering system which I'll use instead, but they don't like it in the title itself. It's a no from Apple.
Oh.
So instead, we won't be putting the episode number in the title. But I have an internal keeping track of all the episodes, so.
It's going to ruin everything. How are we going to know that we just did episode?
Well, I'm keeping track.
What are we on?
This will be 238, I think.
230.
239, something like that.
239.
Yeah, I think it's 239. So yeah, 2 weeks from now we'll be back with a new episode. It'll be 2023.
How is it we've gone 8 years of doing this, and now the Apple's algorithm is like,
Well, they implemented this I think it was last year, where they said, you know what, it's okay if you put the episodes in, but we prefer you not to. So I'm making the decision to discontinue using it. It's not like it's really bad where it's, Apple's like, we're not gonna promote anything if you put episode numbers in it, but I'm making a decision also because it cuts down on the length of our titles, which is good too.
You don't like episode 184, Red Hot 80s Action Summer.
Yeah, right.
4, Strike Commando.
Yeah, it's just easier all around to cut down on the title length of the episode. So
I think the more we do it, the longer our title should get.
Yeah. Just keep going. Yeah, the problem is when it gets posted to things like YouTube, it cuts off the actual name of the movie. So it just says episode 260, Red Hot 80s Action Summer Road. And then you don't know what the fuck the movie is. So,
man.
Yeah, on her. So, yep. So that's why.
I didn't know our titles had to be in the form of a tweet. Thanks a lot, Elon.
Yeah.
You fucking douchebag.
All right, so thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed our 2022 season and our New Year's episode on Ghostkeeper.
Is there anything you want to look back to?
No.
No, I'm saying episode-wise. What's anything that you're sitting and you're going, yeah, you should. What's that's something to watch.
What do you mean, to redo?
No. I'm saying for people to listen to.
Oh, to listen to our episode on?
Yeah.
We
had a very productive year this year.
We did have a pretty...
the COVID years. We did 40 episodes.
Yeah. We did a pretty good episode on Dead Ringers. I would probably recommend that one. Let's see, what else? Now I gotta think back to what we did, because I honestly forget all the movies that we did to be within that time frame, because we did a lot. You're right, we did a lot. We did
Scream 5.
Yeah, the new Scream was probably a good one to go back to. Take a look here.
Funny Games.
Funny Games was definitely a good episode. Our episode on
The Shining.
Yeah, we did do that one too, didn't we? I forgot that. That actually ties pretty nicely into this one.
Did.
You should go back and listen to that one.
We did that for Father's Day.
Yeah. We did a good episode on
Smokey the Bandit.
Yep, Smokey the Bandit was a good one. Requiem for a Dream was a pretty good one. We had a pretty illustrious conversation on the Batman, which I think was a nice one as well. Let's see, what else? Wow.
American Werewolf in London was a good
We really
episode.
did quite a number of them because I'm still scrolling back through them all. So
Murphy's Law, oof, that was a good one.
our Happy Death Day to You episode, which was not about Valentine's Day at all, but we posted it as a Valentine's Day episode. It was a good one. Oh, our discussion on the French Dispatch is really good. If you check that one out, it's very good. Basically, really a critical commentary on the French Dispatch and Wes Anderson movies. Check that one out. That was a pretty extended movie. At 1:35, that was a good episode. And then also we did a 200th episode celebration with Escape from New York. That was early on in 2022, but you should definitely go back and listen to that one because that one was another extended episode where we talked a lot about the film. I forgot too. Yeah, we did Creep at the beginning of the year.
We did.
Wow,
Snuck that in.
Yeah.
So I guess what are we doing? Creep 2 next?
Yeah, we could do Creep 2. Yeah. Yep, that's another one to do at some point. I don't know if it'll be next, but something to do.
You know what? Every time we get closer to 300, you know what that means?
What's up?
We just get closer and closer to
300?
Well, which would be a John Carpenter film, which at this point would be
one that we didn't do. Attack on Precinct.
Assault on Precinct 13. No.
Attack. Assault on Precinct 13.
Jesus Christ! You know what? Fuck it. You ruined it. We're done. It's over.
Escape from L.A.
No, God. What's the one big one we haven't done yet?
Oh
my God.
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. What didn't we do?
They Live.
I thought we did. Maybe I guess I'm misremembering.
No,
I did They Live as a 4K review, but we didn't do it together.
No, we have not done They Live.
I thought we did. I don't know why. Well,
God damn it.
So we got through like 40 episodes this year. Here's to an even more productive 2023. With finding even more listeners that enjoy our brand of semi-drunken, semi-focused conversation.
You're not going to find a podcast with a better crisp beer open than us.
That's right.
Mastered the art. Just pop.
We'll return in 2023 with a Giallo film. How's that? Getting back to the basics. Getting back to what we originally had posited that we would do.
Does that mean we're finally doing Blood and Black Lace, or is that for another day?
That would be fun. I would do Blood and Black Lace for the next time.
Or should we save that fucking anniversary, seeing as that's,
We could. Yeah, I don't know. Let's think about the Giallo that we want to do. We'll think about one and then we'll
Does it have Tom York as the music?
No. And it doesn't have to be Dario either. Although Dario does have a new film on Shudder, which I don't know if it's any good or not. I think Michael watched it, said it was alright. But it's probably wouldn't be the one that I would pick.
So not good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want you to pick a new Dario anyway.
Maybe we'll do Short Night of Glass Butterflies. That's one that...
Kazunhite.
Yeah. We could do... it's not a Giallo. But we could do Private Motel, which is nearly a porno. Not Private Motel. Play Motel. which is nearly a porno.
Nearly. Oh wow, that cover's very porno-y.
It's basically it's like softcore sort of thing, but no, we'll talk about it and we'll see what we're gonna do for the next episode. Okay. With that said, thanks for listening to us in 2022. We hope you enjoyed, and we hope you have subscribed to us on pretty much any podcasting app that you can think of. We're on them all. Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, our home base at Anchor.fm, or Good Pods, whatever you choose to listen on. Subscribe to us, leave us a nice review. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. And you can find us on email at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com, where you can write to us, let us know what you like, what you don't like, what movies you want to hear us cover, and we'll take that into consideration. You can also donate to us. We have a donation page on our Anchor website, as well as patreon.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast. Whatever you donate goes back towards beer, so we appreciate that. Thanks for listening. We hope to see you back in 2023 as we tackle even more movies, good, bad, and ugly. And until then,
take care and Happy New Year.